Hi there. My name is Matt Zettel. I'm a certified financial planner professional, and I work exclusively with people who are approaching or deep in the middle of their retirement plan. Before you get on a call with me, I wanted to address several of the questions that I get pretty frequently on our first call. Because, in my opinion, having answers to these questions beforehand is a lot better than wondering about them after the fact. Question number one is, why should I trust a virtual advisor? This is typically the one that we get the absolute most often, so it's always a good place to start. A lot of people assume that good financial planning requires you to sit across the desk from someone. And it's really hard to blame them. That's how this industry has worked for decades. But good retirement planning requires three things: expertise, availability, and a clear, coordinated plan that maximizes your retirement outlook. I want to be pretty clear about something as well. We are not a virtual only firm. We have a real office with real people and real infrastructure in place. The good part about offering our services virtually is we are no longer limited to only serving people who simply happen to live nearby. Because of this, this allows us to extend various financial planning services not only to people in our zip code, but to people across the country. In my practice, a lot of our clients, even the local ones, have turned to virtual meetings simply due to the fact there's no traffic, there's no waiting rooms, and you have the right and the ability to access good financial planning information regardless of where your feet are. Question number two is, am I qualified to be providing this level of advice? And it's a good question and one that I want to address directly. I'm a certified financial planner professional. In order to hold the CFP marks, I was required to take rigorous coursework, a comprehensive exam, have verifiable experience, and an ethics pledge, all governed by the CFP. And just to be clear, this is not a marketing title. This is a specific verifiable credential that can be looked up on the CFP board's website. And again, you can do this with any CFP, myself included. This is a good litmus test to make sure that you're working with someone who's certified and capable to handle your big plans. Question number three is, how much does this cost and what is the obligation or the catch? And for the retirement income review call, it is genuinely a free call. There is no cost and there is no obligation on your end. Here's the honest reasoning behind that. I would rather spend 45 minutes with you going over your various happenings in your financial life before committing to something that I'm not sure we could even help with. The first call is typically an interview for you just as much as it's an interview for us to see if there's significant value that we can add to your life. And if we do decide to move forward further after that, I'll let you know exactly how we're compensated in your specific situation. No vague language and no surprise fees buried in mounds of paperwork. Just upfront and honest pricing about the value you get for your cost. If you want to verify any of this data independently before we even talk, I would encourage you to do so. I have a clean FINRA broker check record, no disclosures and no disputes. If you'd like to look for yourself, again, I encourage you to do so rather than just taking my word or anybody else's word for it. Our discovery process starts with understanding your full picture. We'll look at your income sources, we'll look at your tax exposure, we'll look at your goals and aspirations, and what your plan is for leaving a legacy. Once we put all of these pieces together, at that point is when we start deciding what is the most efficient and effective way to get there. Question number four is, am I going to try and sell you some kind of product like an annuity? And this is a real problem in the industry. And upfront, the answer is no, this is not a product call and not a sales call. If, after that full entire picture is put together, a certain product makes sense in your situation, we'll lay out every option for you, talk about the pros and the cons of each of those, and let you make an informed decision about what makes the most sense for you. And if nothing seems to fit, if all of your existing accounts and structure are working as intended, we'll let you know that as well. The financial plan always, always, always comes first in our conversations. If and really only if a specific product makes sense for your situation is when we'll have the conversation of if it's right for you actually. Question number five is, do I have to move all of my accounts to you? And the answer to that is no, not always and definitely not automatically. This is another example of every situation being different. In some situations, consolidating everything under one roof makes it a lot easier to implement the various financial planning ideas that we have talked about up to this point. In other instances, leaving everything how it is and going from place to place might be the more efficient option for you. There's not typically some kind of blanket requirement to hand over everything all up front at the beginning. Again, all of these decisions are derived from our financial plan. Question 6 is typically, what if my situation is more complex than most? Business ownership, rental properties, multiple accounts, maybe across multiple institutions. If any of this sounds like you, just let it be known that this is about the normal for the people that we work with, and you would not be the exception if this situation sounds more like yours. That level of complexity is exactly where having a coordinated financial plan actually matters more than most. So if you've got a lot of moving parts and things that might not be normal, bring them all to the call. Typically, we can always look at all of these things together as they fit in accordance with your overall financial plan. Another question might be, what does the process actually look like after our first initial call? If it makes sense to continue the conversation after our first call, here is roughly what happens at that point. We'll put together a personalized plan for you that looks at your income, your taxes, and your timeline. Then we'll walk through it together. We'll look at your plan step by step, take any feedback that you have about what we've discussed, and then implement it step by step. This isn't a one time transaction. Retirement planning, just like all financial planning, is a living, breathing thing. Markets shift, tax laws change, and your life may be totally different 10 years from now than what you think it might be. That's why it's exceedingly important to partner with a professional who can guide you through what is the most important part of your financial life. This covers most of the questions that I get from people just like you on our first retirement income review call. If any of these things resonated with you or maybe brought up more questions than you originally thought you had, this is a good time to try and find a call below if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to visiting.